From the East Texas Sports Network studios, powered by Texas Dairy Queen, a tradition of excellence, the ETSN podcast, where Clint Buckley and Mike Graham offer their, well, they just talk. It's the lowdown on everything high school football in East Texas. And now, Clint Buckley and Mike Graham.
It's finally here, state championship week, and we have one East Texas representative at NRG Stadium in Houston. Congratulations to the Waskom Wildcats. You're listening to the ETSN.fm podcast. I'm Clint Buckley, and I'm joined as always by Mike Graham. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's going on? I'm excited to get down to Houston.
Well, let me set the scene for you. Last week, okay, we had, at this time last week, we were talking, 4 teams that had a chance to reach Houston at NRG Stadium, and unfortunately, we lost 3 of the 4 teams. So I was at Gilmer, Salina, and Mesquite last week, and I was with Chase Colston, who's our digital managing editor at Town Square Media, our immediate boss. And we were kind of scoreboard watching, following the action as it was going on during our game, the Gilmer Salina game. And, man, it didn't look good for us, for East Texas, for the longest time. I mean, La Vega was kind of handling Carthage pretty easily. You were at Mineola Brock, and Brock was doing a number on Mineola. Gilmer Salina was a dogfight, the game I was at. And then Waskom and Idalou. That game could have gone either way. It was kind of back and forth, especially in the second half. So for a while, it did not look good for us. Fortunately, Waskom was able to get the job done.
Yeah, it did not look good at 9 p.m., and Waskom puts on a drive of the season to get past a really good Idalou team. And here they are in the state championship game where they'll face Franklin, another undefeated team.
Yeah, this 15-0 versus 15-0. You can't ask for anything better than that to end the season.
15-0 and a 30-game winning streak on the line for Waskom.
That's right. They're going for back-to-back state championships. That game will kick off. It's scheduled for 8 o'clock Thursday night, but it's the 4th of 4 games there Thursday, so probably won't kick off right at 8 o'clock. But the good news is for us is we've got 2 old-school running attacks, and the game should be quick.
That's right. You look at the offensive numbers, and both sides, they're really dominated by their running game, and Franklin's is particularly special. That's an offense that's rushed for 6,890 yards. They have 8 running backs over 500 yards and not one over 1,500. So you can see that the ball's being distributed really well. Franklin knows what Waskom's going to try to do with running back Chantay Me, and they're going to try to stop them. But none of the 14 other teams that Waskom's faced, or 13 other teams Waskom's faced this season, have been able to stop it. Of course, they played ARP and West Rusk twice this season, once in district play and once in the playoffs. So those are the matchups to watch, and whoever takes a better job of the other team's running back crew is probably going to walk away with a win in a state championship. Yeah,
we're recording this on Wednesday afternoon, and you and I were both in Waskom Tuesday at their practice, and we were talking to head coach Whitney Keeling and asking him about Franklin, and he told us, well, they got about 8 running backs, and he wasn't lying. And we finally got their stats this week. This has kind of been a 3-day process trying to get information from those guys at Franklin. They're not the best at answering the phone down there apparently. So, but we finally got through down there, and man, the numbers are crazy. I mean, at a small school like Franklin, 3A Division II, you don't expect to see a whole lot of players contributing because they just don't have that many players. The rosters are usually 30 or 40 deep, and you try your best not to have to play guys on both sides of the ball. And one way around that Franklin has discovered is to use a bunch of different guys on offense and use them, kind of sparingly, not putting a whole lot of wear and tear on 1 or 2 guys, and have a bunch of guys contribute on offense, and that way they can do their thing on defense too, because you got to be able to stay fresh really on both sides of the ball, but especially in crunch time on defense in the second half.
Right, and what does it say about their offensive line that they're allowing all these players to go for all these yards? That's an incredible job, and I know Waskom's defensive line is really good, and that's another battle you'll be able to watch. Regardless of whether you go to this game or not in Houston, it'll be aired live on Fox Sports Southwest. It's slated for 8 p.m. We don't know if that's actually going to happen. Usually never does when you've got quadruple headers and It's the last game, but probably in that ballpark, probably 8:30, 9.
Yeah, and it should be over by midnight. As we mentioned, these 2 teams love to run the ball. However, to my surprise, I heard about all the Franklin running backs that they use, and the first number that jumps out on the page, the stat sheet, is the 6,890 rushing yards, And then I look a couple of lines down, and I see that they've thrown for 1,200 yards. So while, yes, they run the ball first and foremost, they're not afraid to throw it downfield. And you look at their completion percentage. I mean, they've completed 48 of 84 passes. They're awfully efficient when they do throw the ball. And you have to figure a lot of that comes off their play-action game. And that's something that really both defenses are going to have to look out for, because Waskom's first-year quarterback, senior Dylan Harkrider, who is, of course, the stepson of head coach Whitney Keeling, he's finally gotten his chance to shine in the offense as a senior, and he's kind of added an extra dimension to their offense, and they're able to throw the ball a little bit more than they have the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, no kidding. He's a really good runner, but he's really added some bite to their passing game, and that's something that Waskom State Championship team last year didn't have as much. I mean, Harkrider's thrown for 1,116 yards and 20 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, so not a bad ratio. And considering I think he's around 125 attempted passes, really, I mean, that's really good stuff. I think that he might be the key in this game, because you know that Franklin's defense is going to be keying on Chantay Me.
Yeah, and we both saw a little bit of their practice on Tuesday, and he's got really good touch, especially on his deep ball. They may not throw it deep; they may only throw it deep, maybe 6, 7, 8 times during the game on Thursday. But he's usually on the money, especially when he's throwing the ball downfield, 20 yards or further. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, he did, and there's a lot to like about that, and some good receivers. But once again, you have to believe that this game is going to be won by someone's ground game.
Yep, and in turn, which defensive front and offensive front are going to win the day.
Right, and for Waskom, that's a defensive front that's created 70 plays for negative yardage this season.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's something to hang your hat on for sure. Well, you mentioned Chantay Me, and I don't know if there's one player in this East Texas region that means more to their team, to their program, than Chantay Me. You talk about what he's done on offense, 2,400 yards, by far the leading rusher on the team. A team that had 4 1,000-yard rushers last year, he's kind of had to carry most of the load from that fullback position this season on their offense. And then defensively, that's kind of where that's where he got his start on the defensive side of the ball. Of course, he was the championship game defensive MVP a season ago. He actually returned a kickoff for a touchdown in that game as well. Very versatile. He kind of does everything for Waskom.
Yeah, I wrote an article, and kind of what the undertone of that article is Chantay Me the pound for pound best football player in East Texas, and he certainly makes a case. I mean, he's 255 yards away from becoming East Texas leading rusher. He can do that in the state championship game. He's hit that mark before. It'll be tough, but he can do it. Defensively, he's second in total tackles behind West Rusk's Joe Wright. He needs 24. That's a big number, but he can. It's plausible.
I think he had 24 tackles in the championship game last year.
Right. So, it's plausible. And then sacks, if he gets 3, he'll be the leader in East Texas in sacks. And then tackles for loss, a little complicated because he'll be going up against teammate Keelan Johnson. But if he puts up a +5 tackles for loss margin somehow, he'll take that too. So, and the point of all that is it doesn't really matter where he finishes up, because he's the only kind of player that has been able to be on the top of a chart, both offensively and defensively, which is amazing, because you name off the other players in East Texas,
yeah,
and none of them are like that.
No, and that's a credit to Chantay Me, and we were talking to Keeling Tuesday about Chan, and he was talking. He never gets tired. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He never runs out of energy. He takes a pounding on offense. He gets the ball a ton at that fullback position, and him along with fellow linebacker Mike Reason deliver punishment on defense at linebacker. So this is their 16th game of the season. They had the 1 bye week, but at this point nobody's 100% healthy, especially a guy that endures so much physical contact throughout the course of 16 weeks, a guy like Chantay Me. So he's definitely been. It's a team sport, and I don't want to take credit away from any of the other Waskom players, but I don't know where Waskom would be without him, quite frankly.
Yeah, he'll be remembered regardless of what happens on Thursday, just because of what he's been able to contribute in the past. But if they win another state championship game, his legacy goes on to a completely different level, and that'd be exciting to see.
Some coaching news we want to get to real quick. Tatum head coach Andy Evans, who has been at Tatum for 12 years, announced that he was stepping down from coaching, and he's going to remain at Tatum as an assistant AD and help aid the school district in finding his replacement. But what a tremendous coach Andy Evans has been in this area for such a long time. I mean, I think 115-40. That's an incredible winning percentage, especially in an East Texas region that's loaded with quality programs, and they play the best programs, by classification, year in and year out. He's coached some fantastic All-State players that have gone on to have success in the college and in the NFL. You think about Lennon Career, a running back who signed with Tennessee and then eventually went to Louisiana Tech. And then Denarius Moore, who was a teammate of Career's at Tatum, a receiver that went to Tennessee and then ended up playing in the NFL. He's still playing in the NFL. Got to start with the Raiders, and he's moved on since to Buffalo and Cincinnati. So it's going to be a big loss in this area, a void that will need to be filled in Tatum, and we wish nothing but the best for Andy Evans.
Absolutely. I mean, before there was Waskom, there was Tatum on that level.
Yep.
Just an incredible run in the late 2000s and early 2010s.
Yeah, 2 state championships back-to-back years in 2005 and 2006.
In different classifications.
Yeah, 3A and then 2A. And then they had a chance for a three-peat. They got to the state championship game in 2007 and ended up losing that game in overtime. Just a tremendous body of work for Andy Evans at Tatum, and one of the good guys. He's very easy to deal with, and we're surely going to miss working with Andy Evans on both a personal and professional level. So nothing but the best, Coach Evans, and hopefully we'll run into you in the future. The other big coaching story that happened this week was on Monday, as Tyler Lee has hired its new head coach, Clayton George, South Lake Carroll's offensive coordinator. You did the story on this Monday. What can you tell me about Clayton George?
Yeah, I like the hire. Clayton George, he's worked with a lot of really good quarterbacks, as you would expect at South Lake Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
Most notably for him would be Chase Daniel, who he coached during his first stint with South Lake Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
Then he moved on to Dallas Hillcrest and Haltom City to be their head coaches, and then returned to South Lake Carroll in time to coach Kenny Hill. So it's a nice treat. And in the intermediate time, I mean, he worked with Greg McElroy, who replaced Daniel after Daniel graduated and moved on to Missouri, and worked with Riley Dodge, both in high school and then on the next level at North Texas as an assistant coach.
And you know who may be more excited than anybody about this hire? You mentioned all these quarterbacks he's worked with, is Chantay Me, who got his feet wet at the quarterback position this season when Zach Hall went down with an injury. He got to start 3 games, looked pretty good. He'll be coming back for his junior year, so he has 2 years to learn and grow and develop under his new head coach, Clayton George. I think this is a home run hire for Lee.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's great. I think it's going to be great for Amy because, when Zach Hall went down, you thought they were in serious trouble, and then Amy comes in and puts up the exact same numbers. I mean, he was on pace for the exact same kind of stats, and he's a little bit bigger than Hall.
Yeah, he's the typical size quarterback. I mean, He's like 6'2", 6'3", maybe 180, 185, 190 in that range, and you can tell he has room to grow into that frame.
Right, he's physically just he's going to be more coveted from a physical standpoint than Hall, and if he gets his mechanics and all that stuff ready to go, and he's got 2 years to work on that with this quarterback guru, then the sky's the limit at that point. So really good hire for Amy and really good hire for Lee. I'm excited to see what they have and what they're capable of this season, and then once again in 2017 when they really get the ball rolling.
I want to deliver a quick shout out to the coaching staff at John Tyler. They've done a great job this last month or so helping the Lee kids, the ones that are wanting to play college football, get on the recruiting radar while Lee has been in transition between coaches. So just a great job by William Blaylock and Ricklin Holmes and those guys over at JT.
Yeah, huge. Tyler Lee's got some really good athletes, and it's been kind of shocking to see them not develop as much as other players around them who are similar in caliber. Really hope that these guys can make the cut because it's getting pretty late. And great job by those coaches.
Class act. Yeah. I mean, when you lose your head coach and you're kind of in limbo for as long as they've been in limbo. I mean, Daryl Piskey was let go the Monday after their regular season ended. So they've been without a head coach for over a month now, and to see the crosstown rival school and the coaching staff still take care of those kids that want to extend their playing career past high school. I mean, just a great job, and well done, Coach Holmes, Coach Blaylock, and the entire staff at JT. Well, before we get out of here, it's time to recognize our offensive and defensive players of the week. And since we only had one school that advanced last week, and that's Waskom, it stands to reason both players of the week are from Waskom. And I guess we'll start with defense. You're going to have to pardon my lousy pun there. Defensive player of the week, Waskom linebacker Mike Reason.
Yeah, Mike Reason. I mean, we spent so much time talking about Chantay Me today, but Mike Reason is equally valuable. He's been starting since he was a freshman. He's got 170-something tackles this season, and really in his second to final game really delivered. Idalou took a 7-0 lead, and they're driving 90 yards to take perhaps a 14-0 lead. And Mike Reason blows up a 3rd and goal play and forces Idalou to kick a field goal for a 10-0 lead versus a 2-touchdown advantage. And those 4 points really came back to bite Idalou. They lost 28-24, and Reason finished the game with 14 tackles and 4 tackles for loss. So really nice performance on a really big stage, and I'm excited to see what he does Thursday.
And Offensive Player of the Week, no surprise here, Waskom fullback Chantay Me. All he did in the semifinal win over Idalou was rush for 232 yards and 2 touchdowns, and both touchdowns were huge. On the final play of the third quarter, with Waskom trailing, he goes 75 yards to give them the lead, 21-17 entering the fourth. Idalou then regains the lead, but then Waskom goes on just a dramatic drive in the final minutes to seal the deal, and then it's Chantay Me that scores with a little over a minute remaining on a 1-yard run to get Waskom back to the state championship game and save us from not experiencing state championship weekend in Houston this week. So from the bottom of our hearts, Chan, Mike, we appreciate your efforts. We appreciate you, Waskom Wildcats, for extending our football season one more week. So congratulations once again to those two guys. Well, that's going to wrap up another season of podcasts. Mike, it's been a pleasure talking football with you again this season. Let's do it again real soon.
Yeah, it's been fun, and I'm sure we'll be talking to everyone in the spring semester. We've got realignment and National Signing Day.
And the Combine.
2 days apart, and the Combine. So lots of opportunity to talk football, but I'm also very excited to get into basketball and subsequently softball and baseball.
Yep, the spring is rapidly approaching. All right, well, be sure to check out all of our state championship coverage on ETSN.fm this week, and follow us along on Twitter Thursday night for live updates from Waskom and Franklin. And that is if you are not in front of a TV and cannot watch the game live. As we mentioned earlier, it's going to be televised on Fox Sports Southwest, 8 o'clock Thursday night. I'm at Clint Buckley on Twitter, and Mike is at Mike_ETSN. All right, guys, for Mike Graham, I'm Clint Buckley. We hope everyone has a safe and happy holiday season.